Okay, so before the break, which is many, many days ago, like almost a month now, we just started the beginning of this chapter, and this chapter is on percents. And we shaded in numbers to remind you guys and say, hey, we have 42.5%. We just count how many squares there are. Now, percents, by default, we know that they're always out of 100 boxes. So if you say 42 and 5/8, we know 42 out of the 100 boxes are filled in. Right, that's implied percentages are always out of 100. So today, we are going to talk about percents, but percents also written as fractions and as decimals. So we talked about what is a percent last day, but today we're going to start talking about, hey, how do you turn a percent into a fraction, or a fraction into a percent, or a percent into a decimal, or a decimal into a percent, going back and forth from all these things. They all represent the same number, but in different formats. So that's the goal of this lesson, right? So here, right? Now percents are very special because they're always out of 100, but not everything's out of 100. This diagram here, if I asked you to say how many are shaded, what would you say? 3 out of 4. Right? When you say out of, it means like a fraction line. 3 over 4. 3 out of 4. Right? That is this diagram represented as a fraction. Right? Also, it is 75%. Do you guys know that? Right? 3/4 is 75%. 0.75 or 75%. So how do we go between all these numbers easily? Right? This is an easy diagram because we're out of 4 and we're used to working with quarters. Right? So we're going to look at today how to convert between any set of numbers, back and forth. Right? Now, one of the strategies that we use is, hey, if we have a fraction and we want to figure out what percent it is, we make that fraction instead of out of 4, we make it out of 100. Because that's what percents are usually out of 100. Right? So if I give you 1 out of 4, what's its equivalent fraction out of 100?
25?
Yeah, but so how did you do that?
I think of it like quarters, like change.
Yeah. So you're lucky. So that mental math, you're familiar with the numbers. So if you're not familiar with the numbers, we need a procedure, right? So we go, hey, to go from 4 to 100, what number do you need to multiply? Multiply by 25, right? So that's how you would change the bottom number. And to keep it equivalent, we multiply the top by the same thing. So 1 times 25 will give us 25 out of 100. Right? Now, if you know if it's out of 100, it's easy to say it's just 25%. Right? Now, let's see. I'm going to make up a new question here. Let's go 3/5. And we're going to figure that out as a percentage. Right? So we need to figure out how to convert it to out of 100. Yes, Nicholas?
Don't you just double 3 by 2 and it turns into 60?
Yeah, and why did you double it?
Because it was out of 5 and each 5 is 20%.
Yeah. Good mental math, right? So once again, not everybody sees that process. So what Nick says, you double it, or actually he meant multiply by 20. So you want to go from 5 to 100. So you times by 20. So you have to do the same to the top. Times by 20. So you get 3 times 20, which is 60, what Nicholas said, which is also 60 out of 100, so 60%. Okay? What if I give you it out of bigger than 200? Yes, Nick? Sorry, Dallas? Not Dallas, Logan.
You would divide it.
Yeah?
You would half it.
Yeah, you would half it. Right? So if we give 94 out of 200, we want to figure that out as a percent. Well, we want to make it out of 100. So go from 200 to 100. We need to half it. We need to divide it by 2. So this, we need to divide by 2.
47.
Yeah. And you can use a calculator for this if you're not comfortable. All right? You go 47, oh, sorry, not 47. 94 divided by 2, 47, right? So then what is that as a percentage? 47%. Oops, 47%. Okay. Alright. And I think convert percentages to lowest terms, right? I'll just do the one on the left hand side. Right. I got 80% here. What would that be as a fraction? What number goes on the top? 80. Now, that's a perfectly fine fraction, but one of the things we learned in our fraction units, we write this in lowest terms. We try to simplify it. So if you want to simplify there, is there a number that can divide the top and the bottom? Yes?
2.
You can divide by 2 on the top and bottom. So if I divide this by 2, divide this by 2, I get 40 over 50. Can we go further?
Yes.
Bella?
You would put 10,
You can divide by 10.
so it'd be 4 over 5.
Divide by 10. Divide by 10, which is 4 over 5. And can we go any further?
No.
No. So that is their expression written in lowest terms. So if it asks you to write it in a fraction as a percentage as a fraction, you convert it over 100. If it wants the lowest term, you gotta just reduce that fraction. Just math terminology. Now, the decimals can get a little trickier. Okay? If you're given, let's see, 75%, you want to convert that to a decimal? Well, we're going to do it multiple steps, but soon you're going to be doing this in one step. That's 75 over 100.
So you're going to times divide 75 by 100, right?
Yeah. So you go, remember the fraction line just means divide. So you go 75 divided by 100. We get 0.75. Okay? What if I give you 87% and I want that as a decimal? What would it look like? Adam? Yeah, 0.87. You go 87 over 100, right? And do it. Now, what if I want to go the other way? If I give you 0.49 and I want that as a percentage, what would that be, Dallas?
49%.
49%. To go this way, we divide by 100. To go this way, we multiply by 100. And you guys are mostly, are you guys familiar with this? No?
And then isn't it for fractions, you divide the top number by the bottom number and then you times it by 100?
Yeah, to go to percentage. Yeah. So, that's good. So let's do a fraction. Now, a fraction, if it's out of 100, You want that as a percentage. Why would that be as a percentage? Out of 100, it's pretty easy to do. 57%. Right? This, the top number. But if it's not out of 100, how can we go, say, 6 out of 7? And you want that as a percentage. What can we do?
6 divided by 7 times 100.
Yeah. You convert this to a decimal. To convert things to a decimal, it's top number divided by bottom number. So we grab our calculator. 6 divided by 7 is 0.857. Right?
It would be 85 times 100.
Yeah. And you notice that it goes on for a long time. You only have to go 3 decimal places. Okay? And so now, to get that as a percentage, you times that by 100. Right? So we go 0.857 times 100, 85.7%. And remember to include that percentage symbol. Right? You could have also done the technique we did here to figure out what the percentage is. Figure out the fraction that makes this out of 100. That's easy when this number is a multiple of 100. 4, 5, 25, it works easy to do that. When you end up with numbers like this, when 7 can't turn into 100 nicely, that technique doesn't work very well. It's easier to go to a decimal first. Right? They both will give you the same answer. Right? Okay. So let's write this diagram in the 3 different formats. The 3 different formats are a percentage, a fraction, so I'll go like this, and a decimal. All right? So I'm not sure how well the photocopying came out on yours. There's only one shaded in here. All right? So what would this look like in any one of these? Can somebody convert this to maybe a percentage or a fraction or decimal? What do you think it's easy to do? Corbin?
Percentage would be 25%.
25%. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else?
1 over 4.
1 over 4. 1 is shaded out of 4. And decimal?
Would it be like 0.25?
Yeah. You go 1 divided by 4 in your calculator, or 25%. All right. So 0.25. You go 1 divided by 4, or you go 25 divided by 100. Right? Gives you the same answer. Okay. Percent,
Would that be 80?
fraction, decimal. I write these down in this order, doesn't mean you have to figure them out in that order. Right? I just wrote them down randomly. Right? Do the one that's easiest first. Which one's the easiest one to figure out?
Fraction.
The fraction, because it's, so how many do we have shaded out of total? So 4 out of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 5. From there, where do we go? Do we go to percentage or do we go to decimal? What's easier to do? Okay, how do you go to percentage?
I just knew what 8%.
You just know it. Okay, what if you didn't know it? Okay, Adam?
You times the 5 by 20 and then also times the 4 by 20.
Yeah, you can do that as well. So Adam is going to multiply the bottom by 20 to get 100. And 4 times 20 gives us 80. So 80 out of 100, which is 80%. Okay, how about the decimal? 0.8. You can convert the percentage to a decimal, divide this by 100, Or you can just go 4 divided by 5 on your calculator. Right? You go 4 divided by 5.8. Okay, that's probably the route I would have gone. But it all depends on what you see. All right. And those are fine. Let's go to the back page. Okay. So here on the left table, I've given you random numbers, and we need to figure out what the missing ones are. So the first one is 0.13. What is this as a fraction? What is it as a percentage? Okay, how do we do this? Okay.
Well, percent's 13%. I don't know.
Yeah, so how do you go from decimal to percent?
I don't know.
You know it, but you should be able to formalize it. You multiplied by 100 to go this direction. Okay? So that's 13, and include that percentage symbol. Okay? So go in that direction, we multiply by 100. Or if we're going the other way, you would have to divide by 100. All right? So we need to have these things pretty concrete in our head. What do we do, right? Okay. Now, how do we go to a fraction? Right?
13 over 100?
13 over 100. I like to take the percentages and convert it to a fraction. It's the easiest thing. Remember, a percentage is just over 100. So we have 13 out of 100. Okay? All right. Okay. How do we convert the next one from a fraction to a decimal? How do we do this?
You times it by 100?
Nope.
Divide by 100.
Divide by 100. You go top number divided by bottom number. Right? Top divided by bottom. Numerator divided by denominator. So what number did we get? 0.23. Okay. What is that as a percentage?
23%.
Nice. All right. Multiply by 100. Or convert it. Next one. Can we go this way? Can we do that quickly? What's 47% as a decimal? What do you think, Mason?
0.47.
Yes. Thank you. Mason, could you do the fraction part too?
47 over 100.
47 over 100, right? You take the percentage, you put it over top of 100. Okay. The next one, a little bit trickier, a little bit more unusual. It's different than what we've seen before. Okay? What would that be as a percentage? What do you guys think? Adam? 101%. Right? If it was just a decimal, you just convert the decimal into a percentage. 1%, 2%, whatever it was. This has a whole number in front of it. It says more than 100. It says 101. Right? And remember, you could always, if you don't like that, you can multiply it by 100 to go in this direction. Right? You go 1.01 times 100. Yeah, 101. Okay, so what would that be as a fraction? Sorry? Magnus, was that you? No? Oh, Junior. Over? No, not over 200.
100?
Over 100. Percentages are always out of 100. So if you want to convert this one to a fraction, it's always out of 100. And our number, 101. Okay. Let's do the next one. Then I'll have you do the table on the right hand side all by yourselves. And we'll call it a day at that point. Okay, what would this be as a decimal? What would 12.5 be written percent as a decimal? What, Nicholas?
0.125.
0.125. We take the number and we divide by 100. 12.5 divided by 100, 0.125. Or you might be getting in the habit of noticing we just move the decimal places 2 to the left. All right? If some of you guys may have started noticing that. You just moved it 2 to the left. All right? Okay, what would that be as a fraction?
12.5 over 100.
12.5 over 100. You take your percentage, you write it over 100. Okay. Last one. What is that as a decimal? Right? Use your calculator. How do we do it? What numbers are we dividing?
0.8.
It is 0.8, right? 0.8. We go 4 divided by 5 on our calculator. 0.8. Okay, and
80%.
80%. Do not write down 8%. Okay? A lot of people may make the mistake of write down 8%. It's 80%. Right? If it was 8%, the answer would have looked like 0.08. That would
So
be
you
8.
could just put the 0 beside the 8 and make it 0.80.
Yeah. So write down at least 2 decimal places to help avoid that situation from occurring. Okay? So give this one a try. I'll write up the answers in a little bit. So see if you can fill out all the blanks and we'll call it a day at that point. Okay. So I think most people are done. I put up the answers on the screen so you can have a look at it. If you made quite a few mistakes, put your hand up. I'll come around and I'll help you walk you through it. We're done the concepts for today. I'm going to hand out a progress report. I emailed it to your families this weekend. So you have a copy of that.